If you ever struggled to figure out how much to offer on a single family residential property, especially when a seller is open to creative finance, this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to share a simple formula that you can use every single time when you're buying single family residential properties. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? It's Jamel Gibbs, your family-oriented entrepreneur. Welcome to another video. So previously, I did a video using a rental property offer formula. Now, here's the deal with that particular video. I did that video and used the formula that works really well when you're buying 2-family to 4-family residential properties, so 2 to 4 units. Although that formula can work for single family residential properties as well, there's an easier formula that you can use that I'm going to share with you today. I call it my single family residential cash flow formula, and I'm going to give you the entire formula today so that you can use, duplicate it, implement it right into your business and start making offers and building cash flow in your real estate investing business. But before we get into all of the details, before we jump into the nitty gritty, I want to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, Baselane. If you're managing or even planning to manage rental properties, you need to check out Baselane ASAP. It's a free banking platform built for real estate investors. You can collect rent, you can automate bookkeeping, you can track cash flow in real time, and even connect it to your deal analysis. Now, I personally use Baselane to take care of all of my income and expenses when we're collecting rent through the tenants that we have on our rental properties. And this will be a critical piece in your real estate business, especially if you plan on building a rental property portfolio using the formula that I'm going to share with you in today's video. Now, here's the deal with Baselane. It's free to use. And when you sign up, they're going to provide you with a $100 bonus just for being a part of the family. So be sure to check the link in the description box below in order to get started. Now let's jump into the nitty gritty. All right, so here's the deal. Single family residential rental properties can look great on paper, but here's the reality. When you actually do the math, you can end up with negative cash flow. And on top of that, when you're buying with seller financing, the risk is even higher because you're focused on monthly payments, not just the price. That's where my single family residential offer comes into play. What it does is it protects your cash flow and gives you a fast way to analyze a deal in order to make an offer right away. And this way you'll know exactly how much you can afford to pay every single month. So here's how this formula works in just 3 simple steps. You're going to start with your monthly rent. You're going to subtract the operating expenses like taxes and insurance and vacancy and maintenance and things like that in order to be able to operate the property. Then you're going to subtract your cash flow, and that's going to equal the amount that you can pay every single month. So let me repeat that. You're going to start with the monthly rent. Then you're going to subtract the monthly operating expenses. Then you're going to subtract the cash flow that you want to make on the property every single month. And what's left is the max amount that you can make on a monthly payment to the seller if you're using seller financing. And I want to show you exactly how to do this in real time. So let's go to Zillow. Let's find a property. We're going to use a fictitious property, and we're going to run the numbers on that particular property so you can see how this actually works in real time. All right, so we're here on Zillow.com, and the first thing I'm going to do is type in a city where we're going to start looking for a rental property that we can analyze together. Now, in order to do that, what you want to do is use your city where you're located, or just select the city that you're interested in and look up the median home price of properties in that particular area. You can literally go to Google, type in median home price in that particular city, and it'll tell you. So what we're going to do is just type in Winston-Salem, and we're going to go ahead and hit enter. Then once we get to the second page, I'm going to leave for sale alone. I'm going to go over to where it says price, and I'm just going to put in the median home price in the area. It's about $300,000 give and take. And I'm going to go ahead and click on apply. Then what I'm going to do is go to where it says home type, and I'm going to deselect everything and just simply focus on houses. Now, obviously, if you have townhomes in your area or multifamily and that dominates the type of properties in your area, then maybe you should look at that. But for the purposes of this particular video, we're focusing on houses. I'm going to go ahead and click on apply. Then I'm going to go over to where it says more. Now, where it says more, I can deselect all of this stuff if I wanted to. I'm just going to leave it alone for this video. But generally, you want to focus on owner posted properties. Now, sometimes agents will post as the owner, and it's not always accurate, but you got to put in the work. You got to roll up your sleeves. You got to put your big boy pants on and actually do the work to find out who owns the property, right? So that's a little bit of common sense that we want to use when it comes to that. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to leave everything selected. Just know when you're looking for properties, play around with focusing on owner posted properties only. That way you're talking directly to the seller. And if you're looking to negotiate, let's say a seller finance deal, then your chances will heighten with talking to a seller and actually making a seller finance offer with them. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to scroll all the way down. I'm going to leave all of that checked. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And I'm looking for a significant amount of days on market. So under where it says days on Zillow, I'm going to select 6 months. And that gives me enough ammo to know that the seller has some type of motivation. They want to sell a property. Obviously, it's up on the market. They've been on the market for 6 months. They probably haven't received a lot of offers because it's overpriced. If anything has been on the market for that long, chances are it's overpriced because anything sells in any market if the price is right. But the seller's probably asking a little too much for the property and they're not flexible. So you can reach out to these sellers to see if there's any flexibility in the price or in their terms. And when you're dealing with seller finance deals, the terms is more important than the price at that point. Obviously, price matters at some point, but using an offer formula that I'm going to show you today, as long as you're cash flowing, you'll be able to backtrack into how much you should actually offer on a particular deal. So I'm going to go with days on Zillow at 6 months. I'm going to click on apply. And as you can see, there's 203 results that actually showed up. So the next thing you could do, you can look through all of these properties that show up on the side. And, you know, me particularly, I look for fixer-uppers. But let's just say I'm looking for a turnkey property. And I just want to use the offer formula and keep it simple. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. Let's see what's available here. We see one for $149,000. It probably needs a little bit of work. It says wired workshop. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm just going to keep scrolling down. I'm looking for something like a price drop, something like this right here. Price cut, $9,000. Now that's still close to the median price at $235 to $300. You know, it's not a bad deal right here. We might be able to select that, but let's see what else we find. Here's one with a $5,000 price cut. This actually, you know, at $100,000 is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. That's something else we can look into. Here's another one for, you know, it had a $12,000 price cut, $12,300, and they're asking for $205,000. So let's run the numbers on 1311 Verdon Street. I like the price point at $105,000, and let's see if we can make these numbers work. Before we actually jump into that, let's click on it and let's look at some of the pictures of the property. What's the condition of this property like? Let's look at all 25 photos. So we can see the property is not bad. You know, it's, in my opinion, it's well kept. It is dated, which is perfectly fine. Definitely dated, needs some work, you know, but it's not terrible. It's not a tear down by any stretch of the word. So this could be, with a little bit of tender love and care, with a little bit of TLC, it can be a nice rental property. This actually might be something that I'll reach out to the seller on, to be honest. The furnace looks a little old, but the property is in decent shape. It doesn't need a tremendous amount of work, right? It's not completely rent ready, in my opinion, but this can be something that you can work out with the seller to see if, especially at $100,000, given that the median in the area is $300,000. I'm not saying that this property is worth $300,000 fixed up, because we haven't run comparable sales, which is another thing that, you know, is beyond the scope of this particular video. But this may be something that we can look into in order to see if the seller is willing to accept seller financing. So let's just copy this address here. I'm just going to copy it, and I'm going to take it over to rentometer.com. And I'm just going to paste in the address in rentometer.com, or rental meter, however you say it. Now, we know based on this property, it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 850 square feet. Let's see what a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house would actually go for on Verdon Street. Let's check the rents. And you can see the median is right around $995 per month. So right around $1,000 per month is what this particular property can go for. Now, if we go to Google and we just look for a mortgage calculator, which we have right here. I'm also going to pull up a regular calculator as well. Let's say that the rent can go for $995 per month. And let's assume that the property, without knowing the exact numbers, let's assume that the property's expenses are right around, let's just say $200 per month. And then let's just say you want to make $300 per month on the property. That means that your max monthly payment on that property should only be $495 per month, right? So if we know that our max monthly payment is right around $495 per month, now we can take this number, we can go get a mortgage calculator up on Google, and then we can backtrack based on that. The same way I would if I were to use the regular rental property offer formula, which I'm going to post the link for that video up at the top in the card so that you guys can check that out. That's mainly for 2 to 4 family properties, but you'll see how you can backtrack using that formula as well in order to be able to make your offer on those types of properties. So if I want my monthly payment to be right around $495, you can actually go to Google and type in how much you want your monthly mortgage payment to be as well. You can also use ChatGPT in order to do it. So for example, if I go to ChatGPT and I just type in, if I can only afford $495 per month on a mortgage, what should my price point be on a house? Click on enter, and then ChatGPT will literally give you what you can pay. So what it's saying is basic assumptions. Let's say that the loan term is 30 years. Let's say that the interest rate is 6.5% as of mid 2025, which is where we are right now. Say that we have the property taxes. We already took all of this stuff out, so we don't have to necessarily worry about that. So that's not included in the $495. Let's assume that we're going to put 0% down on the property. It's telling us that we can afford $78,000 to $80,000 on this particular property. All right. So at $495 says with a $495 monthly budget, just for principal and interest, you can afford a mortgage around $78,000 to $80,000. Now, if we go back to the property on Verdon Street, we know that they're asking $105,000. They just dropped the price by $5,000. You can see that there was a $5,000 price cut a little over a week ago. Are they willing to take 78 to 80 grand? You can turn around and go ahead and offer it and see if the seller will accept it. At $80,000, you can cash flow $300 a month, and it makes sense. Let's try it on one more property before we actually wrap up this video. So I saw another property right here, 5850 Old Rural Hall Road. So let's look at the pictures of the property first. This property is in decent shape. Again, just like the other one, it's a bit dated. Just looking at the pictures, not in terrible shape. Carpets are dirty, probably need a good cleaning, but it's not in terrible shape. It is dated, it could use some improvements. You could put some work into it. So the seller may be a little more flexible with this property and negotiating the price. You can see that the walls are dirty right here, but it's not a terrible property, right? It's not turnkey, but it's not terrible. It's not completely rent ready just yet, but it doesn't need a tremendous amount of work, in my opinion, in order to be able to get it right for a tenant. Right. So the property is decent. You got some land with it. It's a decent looking property. Right. So what I would do is take down the address. And again, this property has been on the market for 6 months or more. So that heightens the motivation of the seller as well. So not only does the property need work, which is a problem, they probably don't have the money to fix it, which is the problem. And it's been on the market for 6 months, and they want to sell. So there's multiple motivating factors there to help you see that there's a chance that you can probably get this deal. So let's go back to rentometer.com and let's put the address in order to see what that particular property can rent for. Now, one thing I will mention is sometimes Rentometer, they'll try to get you to sign up for a free trial. You can do that. I actually have an account. It's not that expensive. This is something that can be useful in your real estate business. I'm not advocating for Rentometer. I don't make any money off of Rentometer or anything like that. It's just a tool that you can use in your real estate business. But one thing I will say is, rather than you having to sign up, once you log into an account, before you put in a credit card, if you just hit the logo, sometimes that'll bring you back to this page so you won't actually have to pay. But eventually, in order to continue using their site, they will want you to have some type of subscription. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to go ahead and paste in that address that we just saw on Zillow. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type in, I think it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath property. And I'm going to go to building type, and I'm just going to go to where it says house. I'm just going to go ahead and select check rents. And you can see the median price for this particular house is right around $1,800. Now, another way to look at this, not to get too far into the weeds with this, a lot of times when a house is worth, let's say someone's asking $205,000, if you just look at the 1% rule, which basically says that if a house, if your purchase price is $200,000, you want to be bringing in at least $2,000 a month. That's 1% of the price of the home. You can look at that and be able to tell right away if you have a situation that you can move on. But sometimes you might have to negotiate the price down. So maybe in this case, you'll probably end up at like $180,000. If you were going through a bank right now, they'll probably want you to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.2 to 1.4%. If you were, let's say, getting a DSCR loan, which is a debt service coverage ratio loan. For those who don't know, debt service coverage ratio. That's outside of the scope of this video, but you can do some research on that. If you want to see a video on debt service coverage ratio loans, be sure to check the link up at the top as well. Or if you want me to do a brand new video on it, be sure to leave a comment in the comment section. I'll go into a deep dive on how those work as well. But for the purposes of this particular video, if I'm seeing that this guy is asking $205,000, the reason it's been on the market is because it's overpriced. We already know that. And I'm looking at what rents can actually go for. This doesn't fall within that 1% of the purchase price. So that tells me that this property is probably overpriced. But can we make it work? Let's see. Let's work the numbers at what price point would work in order for us to be able to make this deal happen. So we know this property we can rent for $1,800 a month. So let's go back to the calculator here. So $1,800. And let's just say that the property, in order to upkeep, is going to be $300 a month. And I want to make, let's say, $300 a month, right? That means I can pay $1,200 a month to a seller if I were to offer seller financing on this particular property. Now I could go right back to ChatGPT and I can ask it. I can say, hey, what if I can afford $1,200 monthly on a property? What should my price range be? Or where should my price range be at? And it says, if you can afford $1,200 per month total, that's mortgage is principal and interest, not including the property taxes and all of that stuff. Forget about the 20% down and all that. Assumptions on a 30-year fixed mortgage, 6.5%, which is about what today's rate is. We can afford somewhere right around $150,000. So it says at $950 a month, you can afford around $150,000. Now, I think it's adding in the taxes and insurance. We've already calculated taxes and insurance. equation. The $1,200 can go strictly to principal and interest. How much can I afford? So it's adjusting here, 30-year fixed, 6.5% interest rate, which if you were doing seller financing, you can negotiate 0% interest as well. But worst case scenario, you can offer a seller 6.5% interest rate and the numbers would still work. At $1,200, you can pay $190,000 to $195,000 for the house, right? So you can see how that makes sense. Now, if you want to pay yourself a little more cash flow, you drop the price a little bit more. That's basically how that works. So, judging by these numbers here, it also give you a breakdown of the rate. If the rate was at 7%, 6.5%, 6%, 5.5%, et cetera, right? At $1,800 a month, you can probably make this deal work. This guy is about $10,000 off, so $205,000 is what he's asking. You can probably pay $190,000 to $195,000. I would actually subtract the repairs off of that price point as well, because you got to put some money into that house in order to be able to make that deal work. So again, whenever you're using this offer formula, all you're doing is finding out what the monthly rent or the potential monthly rent could be on a property. You're subtracting the expenses that you are accumulating every single month. You're then going to subtract your cash flow, and that's going to equal the max amount that you can pay every month. Then you'll reverse engineer the whole thing to figure out how much you can actually pay for a property. You can see I just used ChatGPT to tell me exactly how much I can pay. You can obviously verify the numbers, and that will put you in a ballpark to make an offer with the seller. Now, when do you use this offer formula? Well, when you're using a single family residential cash flow offer formula, you can use it when you're buying single family properties. When a seller is open to seller financing, this is a great way to use this formula in order to make sure that the deal is great for you as well as the seller. And you can use it when you're looking to make a fast cash flow offer and feel safe about the offer that you're making on any single family property. So this is perfect for on-market deals through realtors, through wholesalers. This is perfect for off-market deals when you're talking directly to the seller, or when you're looking to create seller finance opportunities and make an offer that's a winning situation for both you and the seller. This provides you with the opportunity not to have all the cash up front. In fact, you can have very little cash up front and be able to negotiate a great deal, especially if you're talking directly to a seller with seller financed opportunities, and you'll still make cash flow in these deals while you're still providing a fair monthly payment to the seller that you're talking with. So let's break this down to keep it really simple, because I provided formulas on my channel before, and I don't want to confuse you guys when it comes to using these formulas. So I have an offer formula, nothing that I personally made up. It's called the Mayo formula. When I'm doing wholesale deals and when I'm doing, let's say, my own rehab projects, or when I'm buying bird deals as well. That formula is taking the ARV after repair value multiplied by 70 minus the repairs, and that equals my max amount that I can pay. And then if I'm wholesaling, I'm subtracting my wholesale fee off of that. When it comes to 2 to 4 family properties, I have a video. Again, I'll link it up at the top. It's called the rental property offer formula, but I call that my 2 to 4 unit offer formula. And you can use that in order to make offers on anything that's residential up to 4 units. You can possibly use it on apartment buildings as well. The formula is pretty much the same across the board. It goes into a little more detail than the formula that we use today. The one that we use today is more for single family properties when you want to make a quick offer to a seller. It works especially well when you're dealing with seller finance opportunities and things like that. Or you're just looking for turnkey rental properties. You can use the offer formula that I shared with you today in order to be able to do that. And then I also have a creative finance offer formula. Again, I'll link the video to that up at the top. Too much to explain on this particular video, but I just don't want to confuse you guys when it comes to making offers. Can these offers work with each other, in conjunction with each other? They absolutely can. You can make adjustments These are just easy ways for me to use in my brain and what I teach to my coaching clients so that they can use it in their business in order to be able to operate efficiently so that they can move quick and be able to make quick decisions, which is what real estate investing is all about, making quick decisions in order to be able to get to the deal. Now, again, huge shout out to Baselane, sponsor of this video. Be sure to check the link in the description box. And if you guys want to see what my 2 to 4 unit offer formula is, be sure to watch the video right here. That's going to pop up. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.